We finally made it to UFC Fight Night. Josh Emmett versus Kevin Vallejos. The card's not bad. The card's not bad. I will say that there's a lot of things going on. I do want to mention one thing. I believe that Sean Strickland is going to get the title shot against Hamzat Chimaev. So, sorry, Imavov. Better luck next time you don't sell because you're another French cheat. You like to cheat a lot. That's besides the point. I wanted to use the UFC website, but the multi-billion-dollar company couldn't format this correctly, so it just looks like shit and doesn't actually work. So we're going to go back to good old reliable ESPN, and really quickly, I'm going to let you guys know that I will be covering the prelims to watch out for, things that I'm interested in. But for now, let's just stick to the main card. Starting off the main card, we have Charles Energy Johnson. Coming off of a KO loss against Alexander Perez only 2 months ago, and makes me a little nervous. It makes me feel like his chin is not necessarily unlocked. It's his first KO loss in the UFC, and I'm gonna have to say that Bruno Silva is probably going to be putting the pressure on here. Bruno Silva is not only 3-2 in his last 5, as well as Charles Johnson. They're both 3-2 in their last 5. Bruno Silva also had 2 back-to-back KO losses, but they're also against Manel Kape in December of 24, and then Joshua Van in June of 2025. So 2 of the best flyweights in the division. So it's really hard to kind of point a finger and be like, oh, Bruno, there's a gaping, hole in the resume for both of these guys. But Charles Johnson relying really heavily on his Muay Thai stance. I do like his activity, but it makes me a little nervous, especially when he's coming off of only 2 months ago. He got knocked out pretty badly. Not like out cold, but he got knocked out pretty badly. And for me, at least, I think Bruno Silva is coming in a little healthier. These guys are both going to put the pressure on. That's not really an issue there. They both have great cardio, and they both like to really put the pressure on, kind of walk you down. But I think for Bruno Silva, at least, I think he definitely has a grappling advantage. But Charles Johnson usually is very good at stuffing these takedowns. So for me, I believe that my final prediction is going to be Bruno Silva by decision. I think that Bruno Silva is going to be a little more active on the feet. He's going to hit some pretty big shots. We're going to see probably a little clinch work. Maybe he gets a takedown or two, but I don't think he submits Charles Johnson. So I'm going to go Bruno Silva as an underdog via decision. Up next, Ion Cutelaba versus Omar Sy. Ion Cutelaba is at a very interesting point in his career where he's had 19 fights in the UFC, 8 wins, 11 losses, but he is 3-2 in his last 5. And his most recent loss was a split decision loss against Modestas Bukauskas that was very close. So at 32 years old, he's still able to. I mean, he's kind of a gatekeeper of some of these, these heavyweights or light heavyweights who are trying to get a title shot. Work their way into the rankings, eventually keep going up and up and up. But this is definitely one of the gatekeepers of the division. I think that Ion Cutelaba here, he doesn't really mind shooting a lot of takedowns if he has to, but they're not always the most accurate. I think he shot 12 against Ivo Aslan, but he only landed 3 that fight. But one thing he does have is a super heavy overhand that he likes to throw, especially his right or his left, and some big counter shots if he's kind of getting walked down or stuck in some exchanges where he's trying to rotate out. But his kicks are also really strong. He has a lot of strong kicks. And I think he's definitely going to have to counter a lot. I think Umar Sy, this is his 5th fight in the UFC. He's 4-1 in his last 5, and he's most recently come off a KO win against Brinson Ribeiro, which not really the most impressive thing to say. His only loss in the UFC was against Alonzo Menifield, which makes me think that he's going to have a little issue with some of these guys who have a lot more experience, especially someone like Alonzo Menifield, who I think was 38. This is back in June 2025. But Umar Sy really does like to shoot takedowns in any of his fights. I think he landed 2 against Ribeiro and only 1 against Alonzo Menifield. But for me, at least, I think Ion Cutelaba can at least withstand the initial storm of Umar Sy, unless Umar Sy comes in with some kind of big development in his game, whether he's able to kind of put the pressure on a little heavier. I think Ion Cutelaba gets this done via decision. That's my prediction. Moving on, Marwan Rahiki versus Harry Hadwick. I don't really care too much for this fight, I'll be honest. Marwan Rahiki, it's only his 2nd fight in the UFC. He's coming off a KO win on the Dana White Contender Series. And this guy, he likes to kind of style. He just kind of ran through the regional scene. His defense isn't exactly the greatest, but that's only because the talent that he goes up against isn't the best. And it's not like Harry Hardwick is exactly, amazing either. Harry Hardwick's second fight in the UFC. This is the guy that is he had a TKO loss via eating leg kicks in the very first round against Fernandez. I don't remember the guy's first name, but it's just absolutely goofy. Yeah, Kaue Fernandez, however you pronounce that, getting a doctor stop. Well, not doctor stop, but the stoppage via the ref, where he's just eating too many leg kicks and he can't get up. I'm gonna have to go with Marwan Rahiki here. I think he kind of opens up. He goes in a little hard, throws that caution to the wind, ups his volume, gets off some big exchanges. I mean, he lands 5 significant strikes per minute, and I think this is definitely a guy that you can kind of just style on. So I think Marwan Rahiki, maybe he gets it done via knockout, second round, maybe. That's my prediction for this. It's not really a fight I care to talk about. This one's pretty interesting. Andre Tucci Fili versus Jose Miguel Delgado. Andre Fili, veteran of the sport. I mean, 25 fights in the UFC. He's 3-2 in his last 5, coming off a split decision win against Christian Rodriguez. But most notably, I want to point out that his losses recently, one of them was he got KO'd by Dan Ige in February of 2024. And he also got submitted by Melchizedek Casa in February 2025. Andre Fili is a gatekeeper of this division, of the featherweight division, a certified gatekeeper. I mean, he's 6 foot tall. He's got a 74-inch reach. He likes to really use his head kicks, especially once he kind of feels out his range. He likes to utilize those. He doesn't really get into too many extended exchanges if he has to. But he also really leaves his head pretty high in this. Jose Miguel Delgado, 4-1 in his last 5, coming off a decision loss to Nathaniel Wood. And the thing is with Jose Delgado, it's right there. The guy's putting out 8 significant strikes per minute with the 56% accuracy. And he's not really looking to shoot a takedown unless he has to. But he will try to knock you down or get you on the ground. I mean, he has 4 wins via submission, but none of these are in the UFC. He's on a 3-fight win streak via knockout since his debut on the Contender Series in August 2024. And I think he has a lot of momentum. I think it's going to be really hard to stop someone like Delgado coming in here and just taking down Fili. But that's kind of why this match was made. You have a gatekeeper of the featherweight division, and you have a very young, he's 27. That's really young. I mean, that's not super young, but that is very, very young for the UFC. And he's got the same reach match, so it's not like Andre Fili is going to be styling on him at range, kind of keeping him out. They can both exchange at the same distance. So for me, at least, I am going to go with Jose Delgado via second-round knockout. I think he hits something big, whether it's a hook, maybe he backs him up in the cage, gets a little combo off, maybe drops Fili. But that is my prediction. Moving on. Gillian Robertson versus Amanda Lemos. Amanda Lemos, I'm not really sure what to think here. It's tough. She is very, very good. Her most notable loss was to Zhang Weili via decision in 2023. But she also lost to Tatiana Suarez in September of 25 via decision. I think a lot of her success just comes from being able to stuff the takedowns and kind of work her grappling. I don't know. This one's tough. I think Gillian Robertson has a lot of finishing power that's very hard to find in like women's strawweight. I mean, she's 4-1 in her last 5, with the last loss being via decision against Tabitha Ricci. Her most recent fight, she won in a second-round KO against Marina Rodriguez. And I think we're going to see Gillian Robertson trying to at least get her on the ground. She usually averages she averages 2.74 takedowns per fight with a 40% accuracy, which is pretty good. But at the same time, a lot of these takedowns don't really translate to a lot of submission attempts, as she only averages about 0.94 submission attempts per fight. I think her last submission win was against Pereira Rodriguez in April 2023. And yeah, since then she's lost to Tabitha Ricci, and then she's also had 2 KOs and 2 decision wins. So I think we're going to see a lot of clinch work. I think we're going to see a lot of clinch work against the cage. I think Amanda Lemos is going to have a harder time coming against someone with a lot of the strength we see with Gillian Robertson. I don't think Amanda Lemos gets finished. I'm going to go with Gillian Robertson via decision. Then finally, the main event of the evening. Oh, Josh Emmett. What are we going to do with you? His last win was against Bryce Mitchell in December 23, where he absolutely just drops him, has him seizing on the ground hard. He lost to Lerone Murphy in April 2025 and got submitted in the first round against Zalal. The thing with Josh Emmett is he doesn't really pressure you. He just kind of charges up and tries to hit you with the big shot and put you out. And I think he's going to take up the center of the octagon, and he's going to maybe unload a combo or two. Maybe he cuts you off in the corner of the cage and he tries to unload a combo against Kevin Vallejos, but I don't think he's going to even put out enough volume to really hurt Vallejos. Maybe we'll see Vallejos get hit with a big shot, kind of makes him respect his range a little more. I think Kevin Vallejos coming in at 17 years younger. He's got a little shorter reach, which I'm really too worried about. But I think Kevin Vallejos is definitely a lot faster than Josh Emmett, and he's going to be quick on his feet. I think that's going to be something hard that Josh Emmett's going to have to overcome as someone who's definitely quicker. Kevin Vallejos finished 3 out of his 4 fights in the UFC via KO. He's also pretty patient, usually in the early rounds. His striking definitely kind of opens up a little more as the fight goes on. He starts putting on a little more volume. He kind of just downloads the data very early on. I think he's also very similar to Josh Emmett in the sense that he also likes to charge up a big shot where maybe he stuns you with one, follows up with a little combo afterwards. But I also don't think he's not afraid to work the clinch either. So if there's a point where Kevin Vallejos has Josh Emmett backing up, maybe rotating outside of the cage, maybe Kevin Vallejos tries to get a little clinch work in, maybe take him down. But I don't think anyone's going to get finished in this. I really don't. And if it does, I think it's going to come very late, maybe in the 4th or 5th round, where Kevin Vallejos just hits Josh Emmett with something big and it drops him. And maybe Kevin Vallejos definitely gets a follow-up, maybe a ground and pound. But I'm going to trust Kevin Vallejos to get this done. I'm going to go Kevin Vallejos via decision, but I could also see him getting a super late finish, maybe in the 4th or 5th round. Then next, I want to briefly kind of point out the prelims fights that I'm most interested in. Obviously, we're going to talk about our boy Myktybek Orolbai. Genuinely one of my favorite welterweights, especially if you watched, Poirier versus Holloway, where Myktybek Orolbai is going against Matuez Rebecki. I don't know if you pronounced that right. He did lose via split decision, but that fight was an absolute banger. One of the bloodiest fights I've ever seen. Just both not quitting. There's points where you think one's finishing the other. They're extremely gassed. It's super late in the fight. And they're just putting out absolute damage. And that's where he had that just massive welt on his head that you'll probably see on social media. But Myktybek's, he's a marauder, man. He's going to walk. I think he's going to walk Chris Curtis down. And I think he's going to put on a lot of pressure. And I think he's going to finish Chris Curtis. I think, what did I put on my Verdict app? I put all my official predictions on the Verdict MMA app. Follow me on there at Harrison_scripted MMA. Follow me on the Verdict MMA app. You can see all my picks, predictions. Super fun app, really exciting. It's just easy to kind of put everything out there. But I have Myktybek Orolbai to get a knockout in the 2nd round. That is my prediction. Another one that I'm pretty excited for is Steven Asplund versus Vitor Petrino here at heavyweight. Steven Asplund, I was watching the presser before weigh-ins. He was saying that he was hammered at a Rascal Flatts concert whenever they offered him the fight. And of course he said yes, because I think Vitor Petrino also knocked out someone that he trains with. Something about Steven Asplund is the guy puts on a lot of volume at heavyweight. The numbers are a little skewed, obviously. I mean, 19 strikes per minute, that's not sustainable. But Steven Asplund, man, I think he's going to come in and put on the pressure. I mean, just look at this. Like, oh my goodness. I believe in him. And it's heavyweight too. He is an underdog coming in this fight. But the thing is about heavyweight, there's just so easy to get that big shot that just puts someone down. And Vitor Petrino's no bum either. He's getting submissions. He's getting knockouts. especially against Thomas Peterson. Shout out Thomas Peterson. Got to watch him at UFC Des Moines. That was a lot of fun. He was kind of styling on Dustin Jacoby too, and Anthony Smith. Yeah, you can do whatever you want to Anthony Smith, but Vitor Petrino. I think Steven Asplund comes in, and I think he gets that second round knockout. That is what I'm rocking with. I really hope he wins. His story is really inspiring. I would like him a lot. It's extremely hard to root against him, but I also wouldn't be surprised if he gets put out. But I think a finish comes maybe later in the second round, or it goes to decision, which you wouldn't really see in heavyweight. And then the last one I want to talk about is Elijah Smith. Hot prospect right now. 3-0 in his only 3 fights in the UFC. But, I mean, man, he is strong for this division. If the opportunity comes where he can take you down, he's going to take you down. And I think he's probably going to win via ground and pound here. 3 takedowns landed, 4 attempted, 5, 11. He's just strong, and he's really excited. I mean, 35 strikes, I think these are to the head, right? Yeah, head strikes landed here in the ground and pound against Toshiyama Kazama. I think he's going to be stunning on So Young Yu, sorry. And So Young Yu, it's hard to say. I mean, MMA fighters out of China just aren't exactly the best. Korea. My apologies. They need a little work. It's hard to say. And I think AJ Cunningham just got cut from AJ Cunningham also just got cut from the promotion recently, which doesn't really say anything. And Zhao Long beating up Cody Garbrandt, exploding Cody Garbrandt's nuts, losing the fight. It's just goofy. But I think Elijah Smith comes in, puts the hurt on, gets a ground and pound second round. Maybe the first if he's feeling a little frisky. It's bantamweight. So the finishing rate's a little lower, but it's very possible. But those are at least everything I want to highlight for this card. It's in the prelim fights I'm most interested in. Here is all my Verdict MMA predictions on the app. I have Bruno Silva via decision. I have Ion Cutelaba via decision. I have Marwan Rahiki, first round TKO. I have Jose Miguel Delgado, second round TKO. I have Gillian Robertson via decision. And then here I have Kevin Vallejos via fourth round knockout, but I can also see it going to decision. So that is all my main card predictions. And then for the prelims, I have, and I'll even cover the ones I didn't talk about, Sam Hughes versus Piera Rodriguez. I have Sam Hughes via decision. She's definitely... it's women's MMA. I don't think we're going to see anything too crazy. Hector Sosa via first round knockout. Bia Mesquita versus Montserrat Rendon. Bia Mesquita via decision. Brad Tavares versus Eric Anders. This is an Unk v Unk matchup. I think Eric Anders gets this done via decision, but I also wouldn't be surprised if he catches Brad Tavares at a point. It's almost something big. Manuel Sosa versus Balaji Oki. I'm going to go Manuel Sosa third round knockout. Elijah Smith versus Su Young Yu. I have Elijah Smith second round knockout. Stephen Asplund versus Vitor Petrino. Stephen Asplund in a second round knockout. And then finally, Myktybek Orolbai versus Chris Curtis. I have Myktybek Orolbai for a second round knockout. Those are my predictions. In the app at least, I think I don't always want to put like a first round knockout. I think we could probably get maybe 1 on this card, maybe 2. I wouldn't be surprised, but I'll just leave it at that. Those are all my predictions. Like the video, subscribe, follow, share. I'm thinking about maybe uploading a few more videos a week, maybe 2 or 3, and I want to get these out a little earlier, so I want to apologize for delaying this. I thought that Frank was going to be with me to record this, but he had some things pop up, some personal stuff pop up, and he had to take some. He couldn't record tonight, and we planned on recording last night, but it was super late, and I had to go to work. But I'll get a little better at the schedule. Maybe I'll upload something frisky, maybe once or twice addition, 2 extra videos, maybe 1 extra video a week, at least talking about things that are pretty relevant to the sport. And at one point, I am also considering sitting down with some of my friends who are a little more of casual viewers and just asking what they think of the products, because I want to know as someone who watches it definitely more than kind of the average viewer just wants to watch big fights or pay-per-views, which there's nothing wrong with that. I think that the product itself in the UFC has been lackluster, and the big fights that they need to be making, they just aren't. And it's not separating the fan base, but I mean, the people are going to watch it anyways. The ones who want to consistently, be a big sport of the fan, or be a big fan of the sport. So I'll have to see, but thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next video.